Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our Missions Connect podcast, and welcome also to our new office by faith. Actually, it is sponsored by Delight Training Hub and Pastor Val's office here. They just transferred last Saturday, and I think we're gonna pray for the place, right? That's one of the purpose why we're here. And yes, and we've decided to do our next episode of our Missions Connect podcast in this place. Thank you, Pastor Val, and say good morning to our friends.
Good morning, welcome to our center, our office.
It's
So watch out for our trainings, incoming trainings.
It's a good office. Pastor Albert,
Welcome to his office. We're just hopping and
our buddy is just to drink coffee and sun, right?
yeah, this is a place to relax. So welcome everyone.
Pastor
Good
Greg.
morning from Phnom Penh. Here at the Light Training Hub.
Alright, okay. So guys, if you need some trainings, especially here in Cambodia, we're gonna plug in this first because he's our sponsor for this episode, okay? Just contact Pastor Val. You can even contact in the China Missions Network, and we're offering a lot of trainings, okay? Here in Cambodia. Alright, so we have a very special and can we say controversial special and controversial topic, and I know any ministry, any mission group, and of course I think it's part of life. Any family or businesses will not move and will not progress without this talking about this, right? It's about money, money, money. we've been talking last week, a couple of weeks ago, what is the next topic for our episode, and we agreed together. We have the same heart on this, that we're gonna talk about money and missions, okay? And I know, guys, it's very clear. This is a very popular thought. Actually, I've heard this many times from pastors. They said that salvation is free because Jesus paid for it. Okay, salvation is free because somebody paid for it. Going to missions and doing missions, okay, is something that involves finances. The reason why we're all here, okay, we did not just swim and fly from anywhere by ourselves, but we spend money coming to the mission field. All right. So to start with, let's have some introductory thoughts from you guys. Anything you can say about our topic, Pastor Bart?
Yeah, so they say that the Great Commission needs great mobilization, but it also needs great finances. Financing the Great Commission is very important. So money and missions is, we cannot do missions by, we do it by faith. But when you do some outreaches, some community projects, some ministry, it involves finances, and in a lot of ways, it's a lot of finances.
Yeah. All right. Pastor Melbourne.
In the perspective of Jesus, even when he talks about parables, 16 to 18 parables talks about money, stewardship. So in the point of view of Jesus, money is really important issue connecting to the work of the Lord in His kingdom. So that will be all from my introduction.
All right. Pastor Greg.
I think I mentioned this before. There's a guy on YouTube I heard a month ago. He said, if you don't have money, you don't have a ministry. It's kind of controversial in a way, but now I was thinking, I think there are a lot of things we can do that does not involve money. To be honest,
Yeah.
there are a lot of things we can do that does not need money. But if you want to go to a mission field, first you need a passport. And you need money to make a passport. And then you need money to travel. So definitely you can't go to a mission field if you don't have money. I mean, that's how it is. Right? In Cambodia, I think I can walk to a neighbor and share the gospel. That does not involve money. But a lot of things, we are tied up or limited because we don't have resources. And I believe there are resources out there somewhere.
Yeah.
But those who are going, they don't have it.
Yeah. Just recently, the last 4 Sundays in our church, our senior pastor actually and the leadership decided to start the year talking about the importance of money. And the title of our messages was True Wealth. Okay? So that's what we focused on the past 4 weeks. So it's really fresh in my mind as well. And even it says here, the Bible contains over 2,000 to 2,350 verses that mention or deal directly with money, possessions, and wealth. This topic is heavily featured with roughly 1 out of 10 verses in the Gospels. And you mentioned about 16 parables of Jesus involves talking about finances, stewardship, and money. So, in missions, I think it's very appropriate. It's our, what episode today? I barely forgot. 7? 7 episode of our podcast. Yeah. Oh wow, it's our 7, right? So I think
this is not the first topic.
and this isn't the first topic. Yeah, that's why, because it's the 7th topic. So I think it's appropriate we're gonna discuss, because again, we cannot do missions without finances. We cannot do missions without talking about money. Okay, and yeah, so let's go to our few questions for you guys. And number 1, we're gonna discuss this. Is financing the Great Commission necessary to accomplish it? Is financing the Great Commission? We know that we have a mandate from the Lord, the Great Commission. Okay, and I always joke about this when we do the business presentation in our meetings. Are you hearing this? The Great Commission? How much commission are we gonna get? So that's not the meaning of the verse, okay? The Great Commission is our mission to disciple the nations.
That's a dangerous statement.
But again, okay, is financing the Great Commission necessary to accomplish it? Okay, let's start with Pastor Albert.
Well, Great Commission involves so many parties. You have the missionary and you have the missions work. Sometimes people would just fund the missions work more than the missionary, and it does not give a proper balance of that. Paul, in his statement to Timothy in his pastoral epistle, using this analogy from the Old Testament, do not muzzle the ox. The ox, while working, simply eats what is left in his threshing, in the thresh part of the agriculture. So some owners, they muzzle the ox.
So that they cannot eat.
Yeah. So he is a worker. That's why we should balance Great Commission, blessing the work, the missionary work, and blessing the worker itself. So it's really necessary in these two parties, the missions work and the missionary themselves. So that would be all for my thoughts.
That's a good point actually. Yeah, it's good that you started on the way, the balancing. Okay, because yeah, I've heard that as well, that there are those who just want to support the work, and then because if you are the one doing the work, it's like it's odd, it's not easy, it's not good to really just vocalize that you also need it, right?
Yeah.
And also there are like when they send the support, okay, and then they have to specify, is it really for the missionary, the worker, or for the church, or for the work? Okay, sometimes it's not clear. Okay, that's why balance is really needed. Okay, Pastor Greg, any thoughts on that?
Is financing the Great Commission necessary?
Necessary, yeah, to accomplish it.
I think it's not only necessary, but it's imperative.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the Great Commission as defined by Jesus, make disciples to all nations,
Yeah.
right? You can't, as I said earlier, you can go to other nations. You don't have money.
Yeah.
So financing the Great Commission in that sense is imperative, necessary. Again, you can make disciples maybe with where you are. That doesn't involve money. I mean, you go and share the gospel, invite people in your home. Still, you offer coffee, right? So you spend money. But if you think about going to other country, it's impossible
Yeah.
without money.
Yeah.
Unless you can fly or swim. But the missionary that goes there still need to eat, right? Need to pay their visa. Yeah, in Cambodia or anywhere, you pay your visa. So to get a visa, you need money.
Work permit.
Work permit. So I mean,
Everything, yeah.
everything. Of course, you need to eat,
Rent.
rent a house. You
And-
can be homeless missionary.
Yeah. And if it's a family,
Yeah.
Homeless mission. You going board.
So financing is necessary.
yeah. Thank you, Pastor Greg. Pastor Val, any thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with what they shared. In the past, when we talk about missions, there are what we call, like, you have a goer, you have a sender, a financer, you have all those things. So like we find roles. Not everybody, in a sense, could go cross-culturally as a missionary, but there will be people who will be called to send, maybe their local church, and there will be people who will be called to give as part of the sending. So it's necessary because, as they mentioned, both the worker and the work and the cross-cultural aspect, you cannot go without finances. In the natural, in the outside world, in the normal world, you work as a teacher, you get salary. Pastor Melbert says, "Do not muzzle the ox." Anywhere you work, you get competitive salaries, and people would go and work there because it's something that they receive something. As believers, we respond to the Great Commission because this is God's mandate, and we don't just work to anybody, but first and foremost, we work to God. And primarily, of course, God will provide, but God provides through His people, either through the church or through individuals. So when we say, is it necessary? Of course, obviously it is necessary, and it's a must, as Pastor Greg mentioned, it's imperative. Because we cannot simply go to places without the gospel if we don't have the means to get there. And nowadays we live in a time where everybody is fast-paced, it's globalized, everything is accessible, but everything also is expensive. And as missionaries, before we go to the ends of the earth, we have to travel, we have to prepare ourselves. Even just locally, doing trainings requires finances. Because when you do trainings, equipping the local believers, of course, you cannot just teach them about the Word of God without feeding them. You'll have your lunch break, your coffee breaks. Those are necessary for the training. Otherwise, who will go to your training? If there's no, of course, they can pay and register, but not every place can do that. Not everybody can do that. So, is it necessary? It is very necessary, and it is needed. And as believers, we have a role to be part of it. If we cannot go, maybe we can pray, maybe we can give. Like that.
Can I add?
Yeah.
One thing also that we need to consider in the Great Commission when financing this is the call goes before the finances.
Mm.
I believe that a missionary or whoever else serving the Lord, I believe that the Lord is there to provide and
Mm.
just uses people
Of course, yeah.
to provide the work that He has given to His worker.
Amen.
That's why the trust factor in the life of a missionary, of a worker, should be really strong in that hearing of that call from the Lord.
Mm.
That's what I've said in one of our interviews. The place of your call will be the place of your provision. So, that's,
Yeah.
So so along with that, so the Great Commission or mission is not, or money is not the mission, but money is simply a tool,
Mm.
right, to accomplish
the ends.
Yeah.
And that's our question number one. Necessary to accomplish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
And also I've heard, in line with that, I've heard this statement also, where God lays, He will provide. But as you have mentioned, the provision will not just come down from heaven, of course. It will come down from the people of God and people that God has called also to support missionaries and mission work in the field. Yeah. I remember when I was in the Philippines long time ago, I think I mentioned this before. I was assigned in the missions department of our district, and we conducted like missions meetings, seminars, encouraging, inspiring more missionaries, young professionals, even students, to pray for the mission field and even pray for countries and start planning. And I remember every time there's an altar call, who wants to go to the mission field? Oh, especially during those season, right? They heard testimonies from missionaries in the field, they heard information. There was no internet yet during those times, so you have to hear first hand information from missionaries in the field. And then we got like excited. So when you do the altar call, okay, hundreds, thousands of young people, oh, I wanna go. And then as in charge of the missions department, we have to sit down and the committee will, of course, you have to analyze and then you have to plan. And you cannot deny the factor of who's gonna finance. If these people will go to the mission field, then are we? Okay. Do we have the capability? Okay. We have the volunteers, we have these workers. Okay. Pray for the Lord of the harvest to send more workers. Now here's the workers willing. Again, but you cannot ignore the side of financing the missions. Okay. And that's where we started to.
My pastor, the call should not only be heard by the worker itself, but the church itself.
Wow.
Even in the book of Acts,
Wonderful.
the Holy Spirit said in Antioch, separate for me
Paul and Barnabas.
Saul, he was Saul then, and Barnabas. So,
Not just
not just the
the
worker,
worker heard,
but the sender themselves should hear
The call.
and should understand the call of the Lord to the nations.
wow.
I think that's related to the next.
Yeah, so timely. Because our second question is, so how should churches balance internal needs like building, staff programs, the local ministry needs, okay? Balance it with the global missions. And that's here we have a lot of imbalance and even budgeting, the yearly budget of local churches, okay? And in line with that, how are we gonna encourage our listener here? How should churches balance the global missions need, financing it, and at the same time, of course, we don't want to cripple the local churches. So, Pastor Bob.
Yeah, so in one of our key trainings in Simple Movie Life, we call Interface, the developing missional church. If the church understands, first and foremost, that we are called by God, every believer are called by God to live our lives on mission with God. So the church, in a way, will understand that. So everybody is involved, everybody is engaged in the mission. So not forgetting the Great Commission, because usually when the church is established, of course, locally there are needs. We need to make a building, training center here. The worship department needs instrument, the chairs needs to be upgraded. There is no shortage of needs. But we can easily be sidetracked. Okay, we need to evangelize the next village or the next barangay. We have to go. So there are a lot of efforts probably in the local church because they are in a way missional. But forgetting the Great Commission is forgetting God's command. Go therefore and make disciples into all nations, beginning in Jerusalem, not staying in Jerusalem, but towards Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. So there has to be a balance, and there will be people who will be called locally, but there will be people who will be called internationally. And as Pastor Melbert says, if the church recognize that and they identify, okay, Paul and Barnabas was called to this country, Pastor Romero is called to Cambodia, how should we support him? Pastor Greg is called locally, how should we support him? In the same way. So there's a balance, and for sure, not everybody will be called locally, but there will be people who will be called cross-culturally. And within the church, maybe there are business people, there are others who will be called, okay, I will give a portion of my finances to cross-cultural mission. I will still give to the local mission. And maybe there will be people also, with the first question earlier, they will be called, okay, I'm a professional, but I'm called cross-cultural. I can work, you don't need to support me, but I'll be a tent maker. I'll support my own, but I can contribute and work as well. So within the body of Christ, there is a lot of expressions of giftings, of calling, of where God called them to be, to serve. And if we recognize that, the church become fully missional, then there should be a balance with local missions and cross-cultural missions. So the pastor has to be aware, where his people are, and equip them towards that, and send them, support them, empower them towards that mission.
Yeah, I think all churches, I assume, started like with a vision of reaching the lost, right? Doing missions, doing evangelism, and so on and so forth. And but of course, if most of us we pastor churches, even me back in the Philippines. So it's like if you are like a focus on the local church and everything that you're doing locally, there are times that you really like forget that there's a higher. Bigger missions, which is we are called locally at the same time globally. So, and that's where most of the churches are facing and struggling most of the time. Especially if the local church will gonna check their finances and say, "Oh, we even like deficit this." So, but again, it's more. I like the idea that you mentioned about missional church, and it starts with the leadership. If they catch it, or they will be reminded it again, because again I said they started probably with a vision. They're gonna be reminded, oh, we're not just called to be here, but to expand even further and even cross-culturally. So becoming a missional church, not just the pastor, the leadership, and everybody, the whole church will hear the call of the Lord. I think balancing the budget every year would be an easier task for everybody, right? Pastor Greg?
Some say that forget about mission, you can't even reach your own neighbor. or some say that no, let's make our church strong before we can start supporting. Mm-hmm. If you start supporting the mission, you can't even you cannot build your base. So they said let's. But I think that idea is probably flawed. But it started with the leadership, that we need to catch the vision of the Great Commission, especially cross-cultural or going to other countries. Because if we don't have that, then we just really focus on our own church.
Very good.
And of course, we need to also acknowledge that there are churches that cannot, maybe, financially unable to support mission, let alone, cannot support their pastors, let alone a missionary. But again, once we catch the vision of reaching to other country, I think that's where it starts. Even though it's small, right?
Yeah.
Who can still contribute?
Pastor Greg, remember this. And I think there's a lot of churches around the world, okay, and of course in the Philippines, that are small churches, okay, newly planted or maybe years, but still small. And they're thinking, how can we do it? Okay, that's why we have the network. That's why we have this in the China Missions Network, okay, because small churches can help each other, okay, send a missionary, okay, regardless of what group he may be coming from. So at least imagine the joy of a small church, let's say 20 people in church, 25 members church, and then they knew that they have supported one missionary in one country by joining other smaller churches. Okay, so I think that's the beauty of a collaboration and network.
Yeah, the prayer aspect, we don't have to wait till we are financially able before we can send a missionary. That's why we developed this network. So for churches to be able to contribute, we can facilitate them how they can engage. First, by prayer. Prayer is very, very important.
Yeah.
It's a powerful resource, and it's the main resource. Missionaries can endure hardship because they're backed by prayer. And secondly is finances. We can sow a little bit. It doesn't have to be big. If you have somebody who you pray with and then you support with from time to time, maybe just for Christmas or for their birthdays, it added to them. It encourages them to serve in the mission field. So we don't have to wait. Network like this will facilitate those and channel those resources so people could serve in the mission field.
And we don't have a missionary who have 12 birthdays in a year, right? Only once a year.
I remember the primitive church in the book of Acts, that they do not dichotomize their situation or we need to do this first so that we can do missions. I remember in the Assembly of God, we have these 3 E's before, but now they add 1 E. Exaltation, that's our mission to God. Edification, that's our mission to each other, internal. And evangelization, that's our mission to the world. And they put 1 E, that is in act, or the practice of being socially involved in the community. So that's a holistic approach when we say that when we come to think that mission is not a dichotomized part of the church, that we need to prioritize this first. I believe that again, when we hear the Spirit of the Lord saying to the churches, I believe giving to missions is not anymore a problem. Because ever since God is a giving God, that's His attribute. He is a giving God. And even Macedonian churches, they are so poor, but then they even really wanting Paul to receive it. Paul maybe on that day, as we picture it, no, they indeed insist. Paul received this. So that's why they were an example to the brethren. I believe that no small church cannot give.
Out of their poverty, they gave.
Welled up, rich generosity.
That's the story, right?
Yeah. So they've been an example to the circle of believers in that time. So
So I think in giving to mission or financing missions, again, the issue is not the amount. It's not how big, how small. It's the heart, still the same, right? And the call that you mentioned in the heart, if it is aligned with the missions of the Lord, it will not be an issue to support mission work.